Today, we are diving into recovery from narcissistic abuse, but not just from an emotional perspective. We're actually going to look at the science of it all. What is physically happening inside your brain when you're going through something like this?
So let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you just feel like a shadow of who you used to be? You're confused, you're anxious all the time, constantly second guessing every single thing you do or think.
I need to be absolutely clear about this. That feeling, it is not an exaggeration. It is not all in your head. It is a real, measurable, physical response happening inside your brain. So let's take a closer look at what's really going on under the hood.
All right, so we're going to start by looking at the specific ways a toxic relationship impacts three key areas of your brain. Think of this part as, gathering the evidence for our brain on trial.
Okay, first up is the amygdala. Now, this is basically your brain's alarm system. It's the part that screams danger when you're about to touch a hot stove or you see a threat. Its whole job is to keep you safe.
But what happens when that system gets hijacked? Well, the constant emotional stress from this kind of abuse, it just keeps that alarm blaring 24/7. Your brain is flooded with stress hormones. And get this, studies actually show the amygdala can physically become enlarged and hyperactive. It literally traps you in a constant state of high alert.
Okay, next, let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. If the amygdala is the alarm system, think of this part as your brain's CEO. It's the sophisticated, rational part that's in charge of clear thinking, making good decisions, and regulating your impulses. So what do you think happens when the CEO is under constant attack? Well, all that chronic stress from the overactive amygdala, it basically suppresses the prefrontal cortex. And that is where that feeling of brain fog comes from. You struggle to make even simple decisions, your problem-solving skills feel weak, and you get stuck in these endless loops of overthinking. Your brain's CEO is basically offline. And the third area under attack is the hippocampus. This is your brain's memory hub. It's absolutely crucial for learning new things and for filing away your experiences as long-term memories. And yep, you guessed it, just like the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus is really vulnerable to that flood of stress hormones. Research shows this constant exposure can actually damage it, which leads to very real memory problems. You might find yourself forgetting entire conversations or big events and just really struggling to learn and hold on to new information. And look, this isn't just a feeling. It has real, tangible consequences in the real world. Some research estimates that the cognitive hit from this kind of emotional abuse can cause a person's productivity at work to drop by a staggering 20 to 40%. That's the very real physical toll of a brain under siege. So the big question is, how does this even happen? Well, it's not random. There is a playbook of tactics at work. And ironically, they often target your very best qualities. If you're an empathetic, loyal, and forgiving person, that just means you're a good human being. But in the hands of a narcissist, these strengths are seen as vulnerabilities to be exploited. Your compassion is used for coercion, your loyalty becomes a tool for control, and your ability to forgive gets manipulated to excuse more and more abusive behavior. These tactics usually fall into four pretty predictable categories. You've got gaslighting, where they make you question your own memory, your own sanity. There's blame shifting, where absolutely nothing is ever their fault. Minimizing, that's when your totally valid feelings are dismissed as you overreacting. And finally, playing the victim, where they expertly flip the whole script to make themselves the one who's been wronged. Okay, so that was the problem. It's heavy, I know, but understanding it is the first huge step. Now let's shift to the solution. Because here's the really good news. Your brain can heal. So let's build an action plan for recovery. And listen, this is the crucial part. Healing isn't just about waiting for time to pass. It is an active process. You have the power to consciously rebuild and strengthen the neural pathways that were damaged. You can literally rewire your own brain. So phase one is all about calming that overactive alarm system. We need to detox the amygdala. This means consistent practice of things that lower those stress hormones. We're talking 10 to 20 minutes of daily meditation or deep breathing, mindful movement like yoga or just walking, and prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. These are non-negotiable. This is how you tell your brain the threat is over.
Right. So once the alarm is a little quieter, it's time to get the CEO back online. We activate the prefrontal cortex with focused, stimulating activities. Reading and writing force your brain to analyze. Creative expression, like painting or playing an instrument, builds brand new pathways. And tackling puzzles or learning a new skill, that's like taking your brain to the gym.
So as you're doing all this work, how do you know it's actually working? Well, the signs of healing are pretty clear, and recognizing them is so empowering. You'll start to notice these real shifts. You'll set a boundary and you'll actually stick to it. Your self-worth will start to come from inside you, not from someone else's approval. You'll make choices for your own well-being without that crippling guilt. You'll find yourself being drawn back to hobbies and passions that used to light you up. Yeah, the past is still there, but it no longer gets to dictate your present. And all of this leads us to the final and honestly the most hopeful part of this entire journey. The aftermath isn't just about recovery, it's about a complete transformation. Now, this is so important to hear. The goal is not to erase the experience and go back to the person you were before. That person is gone. Instead, the process of healing forges a new version of you, one that has evolved through the fire. The person who emerges from this process is fundamentally different. They have a deep self-awareness they never had before. Their personal boundaries are no longer just suggestions. They are absolutely unshakable. They become capable of having truly healthy connections, and they're armed with this psychological resilience that makes them better prepared for any of life's future challenges. You survived something that was designed to make you smaller, and in that process, your brain and your spirit have been reshaped. So the question is no longer about survival. It's about what comes next. What will you choose to build with this profound, hard-won strength?